Hello guys, if you remember from the last installment of this video, we were working on the servos of the tractor and we got them pretty much sorted. So now I think we're good to start wiring it up, and the bottom half of the model, as far as I can see, can be assembled before we start the wiring. So that'll probably be the first thing. Make sure everything is in its right place there. We need to put the bonnet on because it has the front lights. We need to put this piece on because it has the rear lights, and all those wires are going to have to meet up with our Arduino, which will be located somewhere around about here. Then we need to put our two motor drivers on to drive our servos. The first thing I noticed on the bottom of the model here is I was missing a power switch. So this little hole here is where the channel selecting switch used to be. So I got rid of that and I've replaced it with just a little toggle switch, a simple on-off switch. And I 3D printed a little piece to hold it in place, and that should just fit in now, like that. So there we go. Should be okay there, I think. The next thing I'm going to change is this little headlight thing. So this goes up in the front of the bonnet here. So Siku had a resistor on each LED, but I'm not going to bother with that. I'm just going to put one resistor on the positive line and join the negatives, and so I'll only have two wires coming back to the Arduino. Well, you can see I added a resistor in there. It's a 128 ohm resistor. I connected the grounds at the back there, so now we've only two wires. In case you don't know, the way Siku done it with the two resistors is the best way to do it, because you get equal current to both resistors. This way there is the possibility that one LED will be brighter than the other. So with our 128 ohm resistor, I'll just light the LEDs up and we'll see the current. So it's taking about 9.3 milliamps to drive these LEDs, so that's not going to be challenging for a pin on the Arduino at all, so that's pretty perfect. So here's the lights in the bonnet, and they're actually throwing out quite a bit of light, so I think that looks pretty good. There's a decent amount of area being illuminated with that, so I'm quite happy with that. I've run out of 3.3 volt Arduino Pro Minis, so what I'm going to do instead to get the 3.3 volts for the NRF24 module is to use two diodes in series. Now, hopefully that will bring the voltage from our battery, which fully charged will be 4.2 volts, to within the 1.8 to 3.6 volt range that the NRF24 radio module operates on. So at the minute here we have our battery hooked up. I bring in the voltmeter here, so you can see we have our around 4.2 volt battery, so that's pretty well charged, although there's no load on it, so the battery voltage would appear high. But through the two diodes we are getting about 3.5 volts, so that's under the 3.6, and this battery's not loaded down at all. So with no load and no load through the diodes, we're getting 3.5 volts, which is within the range for the NRF24 module. So now we need to add a bit of load, so we'll add the radio module, and if we check the voltage now, we have 3.26. We have about 3.3 volts, so that's well within the range of our NRF24 module. Now, as the battery gets loaded down, we'll just see if we still have 4.2 volts now that we have a load on. So we still have about 4.2 load, so as you would expect, the radio module in standby doesn't take a whole lot of current. But as the motor, or as the battery is loaded down, that voltage is going to drop a little, but the NRF radio module operates from 1.8 to 3.6. So I'm pretty sure the Arduino would be resetting long before we reached 1.8 volts using this system. But that's just something different we can try in this John Deere. Test that out, see if it works, and if it works, maybe we can use it in the future, and if it doesn't, well, we'll just find a different solution that'll work. This is the area where Siku had their little controller board mounted in there, nice and tidy. That was pretty good. So what I'm going to try and do is mount my electronics in the same place. To do that, I'm going to have to remove part of this square here, so I'm probably going to just cut this straight through and completely open up this whole area here. So that'll give me a lot more space, because obviously I'm using modules. I don't have a custom board, so it's a little bit bigger. I'm going to mount my battery at the back, something like that. Then I'm going to stack the motor drivers on top of each other. That'll give me something around about the height of the battery then. And then I'm going to put the Arduino in something like this. I'll solder on the header here so that I'll be able to access the header to program it through the hole in the top here. The final thing I'm going to have to do is bring up the wires that connect to the trailer, and I think I'll 3D print a cover for this, and I'll put a little socket here where I can just plug in the three wires for the Arduino just there. Well guys, I'm going to hold my hands up and say I think I've been a bit over ambitious with this build. There's just too many wires and too many motor drivers that I'm trying to squeeze into this small little space. So I think what I'll do is, instead of using the motor drivers to control the servos, I still think that's the best way to do it, but you know, when I get all these wires down, I'm going to make a mess of the cab. You're going to see all this stuff through it. So instead of that, what I'm going to try and do is remove these parts now and try to put some standard hobby servo parts into the servo, like the control board of a normal hobby servo into the Siku servo, so that I can just control them the same as I did in the Massey or something like that. If I had these three boards combined into one board, you know, like an Arduino chip with two motor driver chips, I could just pop that down in the middle of the thing here, and most of these wires would be gone, and that would be ideal. But I don't have that, and it would take a while to design and get that built and tested and everything else. I do have a plan to do something like that in the future when I get the time, but at the minute I just don't have the time for that. So what I'm going to do is remove this and try and simplify my design. Well, there's the Arduino and the motor driver back out. I've still a lot of wires coming out of here, so I'll sort those out. There's too many. What I'm going to do, put the servo control board into the servos and connect the power wires inside the model. So I should only have the two signal wires and the ground and positive wire coming up, but I already have the ground and positive come from the switch anyway. So there's only going to be 4 wires coming up in total, and 2 of them are already here. So that should make things a lot easier to follow. Then I think I'll try and mount the Arduino and the motor driver on a board together, so that I might be able to get them flatter down into this space here, or well, at least a little bit more compact than it was with all the wires. It's just too bulky, so I'll try and do that if I can, and hopefully that'll work better then. So really the problem was that I was a bit too ambitious with the model I chose. I should have started with the Fent 930. It's a good bit bigger than this, and I'd say we probably would have fit the parts into it no problem. We wouldn't have had to put the motor drivers up here. There's a big square bottom on the Fent 930 that I'm pretty sure we could have fit the motor drivers in around there. There's no space in this really, but it doesn't really matter. I'll get it fixed and I'll get it working, and that will be that. I probably will do the Fent 930 in the same way as I was doing this, but I'm not 100% certain yet. We'll see when I've taken the Fent 930 apart how I feel about it, or we'll see how well this one turns out first maybe. That might be a better idea. Well, anyway, that's all I have for today, unfortunately. We didn't really make any progress, just went backwards, but I suppose that's going to happen sometimes. So if you have any comments or suggestions on this, let me know, and that's pretty much everything. So thanks very much for watching.